Hi everyone, saludos from El Salvador. My name is Alexandra Lytton Regalado, and I want to thank you, Emma, for inviting me to join you and to talk a little bit about my work. So, I'm a photographer and a writer, and for some time I felt that I was unable to do both at the same time. When I was writing, I felt no need to collect images, and when I had a camera, I took photographs and recorded the moment. So there was no need to write. The two activities were like a mutually exclusive activity, it seemed to me. But one thing was definitely clear, was that I was a collector, and what moved me, or what really hooks me, is the visual. So I've been living in El Salvador now for about 17 years. And El Salvador, if you don't know, is the country with the highest murder rate in all of the world, and that's primarily because of gang violence and because of the drug trafficking. So as you can imagine, our safety concerns here are very different from my own experience growing up in Miami. Back then, you know, we could get on our bikes and pedal like 10 blocks to our friend's house, and then as long as we were home before sunset, our moms were cool. In El Salvador, my kids cannot even walk a block without being trailed by the security guards, and our cars have bulletproof glass on them. So since I don't drive in this country, I spend a lot of time looking out the window, and as you can imagine, there's all kinds of images that are scrolling past. And one day when we were coming to this intersection, which is a place that I pass by very often as I go pick up kids and drop off kids and on my way to work. It's a marginal neighborhood just before you get onto the highway. These are dirt floor houses that have walls made of, you know, corrugated metal, zinc, and whatever else they can use to improvise shelter. So the thing was that on this particular day, I always like to look at this house, this one house, because this house has a garden that's fenced in with a chicken wire fence, and the lady of the house, I suppose because I've never seen her, and that's why I always pay attention, because I want to see who lives there and who takes care of that garden. She always has these potted plants, you know, sort of like geraniums and maybe like a stray rose or something like that. But they're like in paint cans or any other kind of recipiente, I'm sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish, any other type of container that she can find. And so I was looking at this corner trying to see what flowers she had on that particular day, and then I was surprised because there was a girl who was dancing, and I looked closer at her and I realized that she had a little skirt, and it was made of cut newsprint, like in this little fringe. And then I looked again closer and I saw that she was holding a piece of broomstick, and she tossed it up in the air and caught it. And I thought, oh my God, I have to take a photograph of this. And so I scrambled in my purse trying to find my phone, and of course I couldn't find my phone. And so I was like, what can I do? What can I do? I really want to keep this image. I wanted to record it. And so I couldn't do anything because the car was pulling away from the curb. And so I just turned around and I look in the other direction, and leaning against the chain link fence from the garage from across the street is this kind of gross, you know, lecherous looking man, and he's watching the girl as well. And so then all of a sudden that whole picture changed for me. Anyway, that image stayed in my mind for the rest of the day, and as soon as I came home that night, you know, this has never happened to me before, and it seemed like a myth when I heard other people say it, but sincerely I sat down and that poem just barreled out of me as is, and I just fine-tuned a few things, but it really pretty much just came out intact the way that I saw it all. So the thing is that for me, what was really interesting about it was that there were so many layers. You know, first there was this girl imagining herself in the parade And I should mention that being a majorette, which is what she was practicing to do in a school parade, is a very coveted position, because as you can imagine, you know, the thigh-high boots and the shiny little costume, well, whatever, you know what I mean. So there's the first layer of the girl there, the actual girl in that fenced-in garden, and then the layer of the girl as she imagines herself, and then me in the car watching her through the bulletproof glass, wanting, you know, to keep the image of her somehow, and then the other layer of the man watching her and also wanting her.
La cachiporrista. Because I can't take a photo through the bulletproof glass as our car eases to the corner that merges with the highway, where a chop shop displays its wares of cars quartered into fenders, grills, rims, spoilers. I'll have to remember the man's hooded eyes as he watches from behind the wire diamonds of chain link, the whirling wrists of a teenage girl in a majorette skirt fashioned out of half-inch thick strips of cut newsprint, the fringe swaying with her hips as she twirls a baton of broken broomstick in circles, wrist over wrist, and tosses it high as she turns to catch it, fanning behind her back, and the sun's light pressing on the square patch of a roadside garden of black-eyed Susans, zinnias, and dahlias in plastic gallon jugs and rusted tins, the halved car tire that serves as a trench to keep out the leaf-cutter ants that could easily strip the lime sapling bare in the course of one summer night.
So that poem then became the tuning fork for all the other poems in my manuscript. The length, the style, I don't know, like the tricks and turns of it, it kind of became what I wanted every other poem to model. So for a long time, I'd been writing about El Salvador, but I just couldn't seem to get the perspective right. And that's what that failed moment of photography resulted in. It was really cool because I understood that the way that I frame images, you know, all of the things that I learned in my photography class when I got my undergraduate degree, could also apply to my writing, and then that I could sequence it as like a film, and that would also work for the structure of my poem, that I could sequence those images the way that they unfolded in La Cachiporrista. So ever since that miraculous poem, you know, how that turned out for me, La Cachiporrista, every time that I got into the car, I felt like I had to have my phone camera ready. And so, curiously, I can relate that to something that happens every day as well. Each morning as we go to school, our dog jumps into the car. And just today, my daughter asked me, she said, you know, Mommy, why is it that dogs like car rides so much? And so I looked into it, and according to the biologist that wrote the article that I happened upon, she explained that it was because for dogs in a car, it simulates the feeling of being on a hunt. That together with all of the beings that they love and trust the most, they are racing together with the pack, and they feel weightless, and they're seeing everything rush by, and they're in full attention and in a state of, you know, complete anticipation. And so I realized that all along I'd been hunting for images. And so throughout the writing of my book of poems, Matria, I had also been working on an Instagram photo project called Through the Bulletproof Glass, with nods to Alice, you know, through the looking glass. So and I think Emma's going to show you guys my Instagram project, and I think she'll stop on the photos that she considers most relevant. But in those photos, I think you'll get a clear picture of my day to day and the things that one can expect to see in El Salvador. So, and when I first started posting those photos, I wanted to write excerpts of my poems that would accompany the photos, and some of them do have lines from my poems that are related to the image, and that maybe even in some cases were the source of the poem. Other times the photographs are accompanied by a more like a non-fiction text, more reporting style with facts about, I don't know, the living situation or whatever it is that, you know, women have to confront on a daily basis. And then other times that I just want to let the image stand alone. But really the thing is that whether or not the poems and the photos are explicitly connected, the truth is that I feel that they both feed off of each other, and in my case, for whatever it is that moves me and that I want to engage with, the poems and the photographs work together like a kind of electrical circuit. And so what's happened is, you know, I continue doing the photo project. My book has been published of poems, but now I feel kind of like, you know, that intense and careful watching and that state of constant awareness has also triggered some questions and ideas that need a little bit more space to develop. And so I've actually started writing stories and some essays as well. So regarding the Radar Poetry Prize, that was really special because not only were my poems going to be published, they were also going to be accompanied by audio and images. The editors of Radar said that I could suggest an artist to be paired with, and immediately I thought of Maita Mendez. You see, she has this sense, it's like I don't know, like some kind of antenna, and she tunes into the light inside every moment. Like me, Maita is Salvadoran American, and her photos, I don't know, I feel like they reveal what's most human about each person. It's like a universal thing that she connects with. Like even her still lives feel like they're inhabited somehow. So the editors of Radar and Maita selected the photos, and it wasn't until the poems were in their galley form that I saw the pairings. So not surprisingly, almost all of the photos, with the exception of one of them, I felt like it was an ideal pairing. They spoke to something in the poem. Obviously, well, they weren't illustrations, but they had this kind of like a slant or like a nod, a wink, something that they recognized in each other. And I imagine the way that they're set up on the page like that they can be like, you know, cousins sitting together on this bench, sort of looking out in the same direction. There was only the one that I was saying that did not match, is the one of a little boy, the one that goes with the poem La Gallina. I don't know, I feel like it's the one weak link there. It's not really a poem. It's not really a photo that I particularly think has captured the essence of the boy, because he's hiding his face. And actually my real criticism with that photo was that I don't feel like the essence of the poem was a child at all. It was more the mother, and that's who I wanted to see in the photograph that was paired with that poem. So so once I saw the result of what the Radar poetry site was like, with pairing my photos with audio and pairing my poems with photo and audio, I just started thinking about all these possibilities, and I really wanted to share that experience with other local writers and artists. So I wanted to do this series of collaborations between people that I know here in El Salvador that are currently working in contemporary art, and it's great because this is really the intersection between the two things that I'm most passionate about. I am the co-founder of a small publishing company. It's called Galina, and we print large format photography books, and also some literature. We've published a novel, a short story collection, a poetry anthology, and we're about to publish a prose anthology, and most of it is bilingual. And I also work on the board of directors at the El Salvador Museum of Art, and I focus specifically on the contemporary art programs. So one of the things that we're exploring in the two areas that I work in the museum and in my publishing company, is to how these two, how literature and art can intersect. And so in addition to a series of ekphrastic workshops, which are modeled actually after the Pintura Palabra workshops that Emma led in Miami, and it's an amazing program, and I'm hoping that Emma talks to you guys about this today, because it's also a great concept to help you kind of like dig in to kind of bigger picture concerns in your work as a writer. So at the museum and in my publishing company, Kalina, we're working on developing a series of either video art installations or kind of like performance or art in public spaces that bring together literature and contemporary art. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me, and I'm super excited about being a part of this, and I'm jealous. I wish I could be there with you guys taking part in this workshop. You have a wonderful teacher, and I can't wait to hear how it all turned out. Thanks. Bye.